Well, hello everybody. Excuse me, sorry for my deep voice today. It's my interpreter. It's his fault, I tell you. Anyway, okay, my name, as said, is Maite Facio-Beanland. I'm here today to talk to you about my silent world and also to raise awareness about deafness and deaf people in Gibraltar. I want to explain the everyday obstacles that I face in my life and that continue today, and also for, deaf people and how they live their lives too. Well, I was born in Gibraltar in 1965 in September. I was very healthy. I was a happy baby. But at the age of 13 months, I fell very ill with meningitis. So at the hospital in Gibraltar, the doctors weren't able to provide the correct diagnosis or treatment. My parents, I'm very lucky, they've taken me to a variety of specialists, ENT doctors, in Morocco, in France, and even England at that time. And they suspected I might be deaf. And after a variety of tests, it was confirmed. I have a specific nerve damage in my hearing, and that was caused by the meningitis. And that's what led to my deafness. Growing up, it was very difficult for me. There was no support whatsoever, and there was nothing provided for deaf children in education in Gibraltar at that time. So at the age of 3, I went to the Loreto Convent School, but I was the only deaf child in the classroom. And I felt really isolated, and it was very frustrating. I struggled to learn how to read, how to write, and how to communicate with others. For example, a teacher normally would write on the board, but they speak at the same time to other children. So it was very difficult for me to keep up if I couldn't lip read and learn. So I was just really left out. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like, I was so lonely in this silent world. My education basically started at the age of 13. Really, that's when my silent world started to change. I feel very fortunate that my parents could actually afford to send me to a specialist school. It's a boarding school for the deaf in York, in the UK. And my parents, they knew that would be the only or single opportunity for me to actually reach my full potential and to prepare me as best as possible for a life once I returned back to Gibraltar. It was very difficult. I couldn't read, I couldn't write at that time because, I'd missed out on so much. And at that time, communication was by phone, wasn't it? And I couldn't use the phone. So when I come back to, I couldn't really communicate. I had to rely on my family. So each school term, I would come back to Gibraltar and see my family. But before that, I had very little contact with my family. But now we're lucky. We've got modern technology and we've got different ways that we can communicate. You've got your mobile phone with different apps, and you've got FaceTime where I can sign, and different apps like Facebook, for example. So they all really have changed my life. And at the age of 18, once I'd finished school and returned to Gibraltar, I started to work in my family's business as a secretary. And I was the only deaf person there, and certainly one of the only few in Gibraltar, and that can be very isolating. And unfortunately, the community services in Gibraltar, well, at that time, there wasn't anything. I mean, now there has been some improvements in the recent past, but I do feel that there's a long way to go to support deaf and hard of hearing people in Gibraltar. I mean, compared to my experience in the UK when I was growing up, we need to do more. You know, when I was in the UK, I felt relieved to belong to a community and which had, you know, lots of deaf people who use sign language and had lots of access. So I think we can do more here to support deaf people. And over the past few years, I'd say deaf awareness has improved. And I'd say thanks to the work of organisation and charities like GHITA, Gibraltar Hearing Issues and Tinnitus Association. And I believe myself to be very independent, but there are certain things that really I need to rely on for communication, or assistance. And I would thank that there had been these changes, but really we have to think about others. For example, the changes and improvements that have been made are such as I can make an appointment with the GHA by text messaging, and they will text directly to me and give me an appointment, which is fabulous and really life-changing. So I can deal with my own appointments, and they'll let me know if that appointment changes, which is great. You know, that's a step that I can make my own medical appointments now. Also, there's more provision of interpreters, which I'm glad to see. And we have sign video, which is where an in-person interpreter isn't available. There's a video phone with an interpreter in a remote location, so I can talk to the doctor. I mean, in the past, I'd have to take a family member or a friend to the doctor. That can be embarrassing, but now I can do it independently. Now, what I would really look forward to in the future as a deaf person is to help people affected by this disability, and to aim more for equality. You know, I want to see that actually happen in our community. But in a practical sense, I would like to be able to watch television, so put subtitles on them, on the programs. I want to see more events like this, or more activities interpreted for deaf and hard of hearing people. And also, I think there should be more BSL courses. I think there are many people in Gibraltar who would really like to learn how to sign, and I'd be happy for them to do that. And that may, in fact, improve services or local services for deaf people in future. Now, it's not all... we have to have all of these improvements, especially in schools. Now, although, you know, there are still important changes to be made, I'd just like to make it clear, you know, to everybody that how I'm affected by my deafness is not all doom and gloom, you know. I do have to rely on family members to communicate with the hearing world. And so there can be issues. But on the other hand, you know, in my own way, I lead, you know, a very normal life. And I've been very happily married for over 30 years. I've raised 2 wonderful children, Emma and Frank. I mean, both of them have now settled back into Gibraltar after their graduation from UK universities. They are really my pride and joy. Now, I can really do anything, to be honest. I mean, especially if I put my mind to it. I mean, many people are actually surprised to hear that I can actually drive. And I've been driving in both Gibraltar and Spain for over 30 years. You know, I don't let my disability keep me down, you know, or stop me from actually doing whatever I want to do. Even recently, I joined Zumba, you know, and Aquafit, you know, and I can't hear the music, but that doesn't matter. I can follow what everybody else is doing, can't I? You know. So, I mean, deaf people actually sometimes have an advantage. I'm actually told by my children that my husband is a really terrible snorer. Well, you know, it's very loud, but it's, thank God, you know, it's never been an issue for me. Well, what I hope, by raising awareness of deaf and hard of hearing people, is that we can try and improve the services within Gibraltar for deaf and hard of hearing people. And if anybody, especially parents with a child who has a hearing issue, who would like my advice, then please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm more than happy to give advice in any way I can. Well, thank you very much for watching me.